Yo. Hey yo, what's good to all my heroes and villains out there? You know who it is. It's your boy LC. And guys, welcome to another episode of Heroes and Villains Collectibles. And yeah. My drink's all the way over here. Hope everybody's chilling. Hope everybody's having an awesome weekend. It's Saturday, man. So Saturday night. So hope everybody's having a good one. Salud to everybody out there. You guys already seen the title. We're gonna be chilling, just talking. We're gonna be checking out the story for the what is it? The Daredevil, because we got the Disney Plus series coming. But also, I wanted to check out some trailers. Mainly two trailers, maybe three, but mainly two of them that showed up on my YouTube feed. So that, which is kind of bugged out. So I'm like, yo, you know what? I might as well react to it on the live because I'm gonna go live anyway. So, but yo, before we even get started on anything, check it out. If it's the first time checking out your boy, make sure you guys go ahead, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, and let you know when I got all types of videos, game streams, toy hunts, unboxings, all that stuff coming your way. Also, make sure to smash that like button, man. Because if you smash that like, then YouTube will go ahead and share my videos. Alright? So, cool. Alright, guys. So, once again, hope everybody's having a good one. Alright, guys. So, like always, we want to get this started right, get it out the way. Can't stress this enough. Soon, very soon, we have the here we go. We got the Marvel Marathon. We're gonna be watching some movies on the Steam, so make sure you guys are following us on the Heroes and Villains Collectibles for the Twitch. My bad, I said Steam. For the Twitch.tv at Heroes and Villains Collectibles. So the link is actually in the comments below, description, I think it is, and also pinned to the chat. So make sure to follow us on there, guys, because I think I'm probably gonna do a video next week, like just a separate video, just announcing that guys, yo, this Saturday, whatever, you know what I mean, you know, whatever Saturday it falls on, we're gonna be doing our first Twitch movie stream. You know what I mean? So that's gonna be fun. And once again, the plan is to watch one movie every Saturday. You know what I mean? So, like I said, we're gonna be watching the whole Marvel marathon. You know what I mean? We're gonna have a good Marvel marathon. So we're gonna be able to watch all the Marvel movies. But like I said, there'll be other movies because they're comic book based that would be cool to see. Like I want to see the Crow again, the 2004 Crow. Man, that was my shit back in the days. I really want to see that. So that'll be cool to go ahead and do a stream on that with you guys. And yeah, man, you know, some other stuff, man. But keeping it comic book based. But yeah, make sure once again to follow us because it's gonna be cool. I know slowly but surely, just like YouTube, you know what I mean. And now I got over 16,000 subscribers. But slowly but surely on here, you know, we'll get the followers up. And like I said, it's mainly gonna be to check out the movies and then we can talk about them, discuss them, have fun. You know what I mean? Make sure you got your popcorn ready, all that good stuff. You know? So that'll be cool. That will be cool. So, alright? So, always gotta put that out there because, you know, just started the Twitch and like I said, I want to go ahead and watch some movies with you guys. That'll be cool. Now, alright guys, now this is crazy, right? Well, I mean, not really crazy because, alright, like, there's been, like you guys remember, they did back in the days, if you guys even know, they did, like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna show you guys because it actually kind of falls in the same universe, to be honest with you. But they actually came out with that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey You know what I mean? And then they came out with a Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Part 2. I don't know if that one actually even, yeah, it did come out, right? And then, so, you know, now that they did those Winnie the Pooh horror movies, they're actually making other movies. Like they're doing a Bambi horror movie. They're doing a Peter Pan horror movie. Mickey Mouse horror movie, right? And they're doing it like Marvel. You know what I mean? Like Marvel. Like it's gonna be all in one universe. And they're all gonna connect. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if you guys, let me see. Let me see if I can find what's the name. And then we're gonna check out some trailers, like I see. Yep. Okay. So check it out. So we're gonna check out some trailers, but this is just to give you guys an idea. Like, I'll be honest, I haven't seen none. Like they even did the Grinch, but they didn't call it the Grinch. They called it the Mean One, and that was a horror movie as well. You know what I mean? But supposedly that this Winnie the Pooh is actually the universe, you know what I mean, for all these horror movies. So look, check this out. Look at that right there. Pooniverse, Monsters Assemble, 2025. I'm guessing at some point we're gonna have all these guys in one movie, like the fucking Avengers. You know what I mean? But they already made two Winnie the Pooh movies. You see Winnie the Pooh right here? So they did Pooh and Pooh Blood and Honey. So like we can even check out the trailers to those. But look, they also have the, like I said, the Bambi right here, horror movie. And then they got the Peter Pan. Where's Peter Pan at? Right here. Right here. This is Peter Pan. Right there. Down here you have Piglet. Down here. That's Tigger. That's Pinocchio. Oh yeah, they're doing a horror Pinocchio. Same people, you know. We got Pinocchio. You have the rabbit down there. The rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. What is this? The Mad Hatter. You got the Mad Hatter. Holy nah. Yo, I didn't notice that. Is that the Little Mermaid? Holy shit! Look, yo, I have never noticed that. We have the Little Mermaid down here. Little Mermaid, Winnie the Pooh, Bambi, Tigger. I don't know who this is. Freaking Mad Hatter, Peter Pan. What is it? The rabbit from Winnie the Pooh, Pinocchio, Piglet. Is this that clown guy? What's his name? That they did like 3 movies of him. Shit, I forgot. And then now the Little Mermaid. That is crazy. Crazy. Alright. So, if in case, once again, guys, we're gonna be just checking out some trailers, and then we're gonna, the last thing, we're gonna get to the comic book stories. You know what I mean? Because we're gonna be focused on that. But I just wanted to check this out because I'm like, damn, I'm actually more intrigued. You know what I mean? Especially that Little Mermaid. That's I don't know how I didn't see that. You know what I mean? Okay, so we're gonna save this photo there, right? And then I kind of already had some. Boom. Hold up. I kind of already had some trailers set up to what we're gonna watch, but we're gonna go ahead and take it back to where it started. You know what I mean? So that is what the Winnie the Pooh. Okay, right there. You have that one, and then you had this one.
At checker.
Okay. And then I'm trying to see what else came out from that universe. Oh, the Mickey Mouse, right? The Mickey's Mousetrap. That's what it was called. Okay. So, alright, bet. So, check it out. Let's check out these trailers right here. So we got. Alright, guys. Trying to get everything ready. Alright. So, according to, let's go here. Close this out right here. All right. So, according to this this poster that they did for the Monsters Assemble, what started it off was the but you know what I don't see? I mean, then again, they probably added it on here. But I don't see Mickey Mouse. But Mickey Mouse got to be part of the universe. Got to be. But I don't see him here, but he just got to be. Right? Okay. So, let's go ahead and according to this, what's going to take in the same universe, it started off with the, let me go ahead and click on it here. Bum, bum. What? Let me make sure also that okay, yeah, right there, and let's go with this one here. That's it, the Winnie the Pooh. All right.
And rallies, we're ready to elevate your flavor game for just $1.99 with the new Fry Seasoned Chicken Tender Wrap or the new Bacon Ranch Cheeseburger.
All right, let's do this. I got it ready for y'all. Got it ready. Okay, so this is the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey trailer, right? That supposedly starts off this whole universe thing. Now remember, guys, once again, I haven't seen none of these movies. I actually have to add the Grinch one on there. I haven't seen none of these movies, but seeing how they're all gonna connect and do like some crazy Avengers thing, I might just watch them all, starting with this one, cause you gotta watch them in order. You know, like on some Avengers shit. But let's see. But we're gonna watch all the trailers that they dropped in order. But the movies. Oh yeah, this movie, as you can see, it was cheap. You know what I mean? Like low budget. But for the second trailer, because the first movie did so good, they actually put a little more money into it. The studios actually backed them up with more money. So the second trailer so the trailer for part two, you're gonna see the characters look a little bit more realistic. See this damn mic. I gotta remember I'm over here talking. It's on mute. What I was saying was that was a bugged out trailer. You know what I mean? I'll probably just go ahead and now that it all connects, to the whole monster universe, just watch them all. But that was low budget. You know what I mean? They actually wanted to see how much money it would make, and it actually did good. So much so that they did a part two. So this is the trailer to part two. You know what I mean? I gotta remember. I gotta either just not put this on mute. If I put it on mute, then I forget. So, but all right, let's go ahead and check out the trailer to part two. Part two, you're gonna see them look a little bit more, like monsters, not like if it's people in a mask. So.
Let's begin. I'm going to take you back there. Feel all weight drift away. How are you feeling?
Good, I think.
Do you recall anything from the session? Focus. What is happening?
This was the day Billy was taken.
Them kids. They didn't stay buried. As if the earth itself was allowing this.
You saw that? Tigger. And then you had the Falcon. Cause you have a Falcon, right? In the Winnie the Pooh. And then I think they said like Eeyore. They ate Eeyore, the donkey. Yo, you see the graphics on it? It looks more like monster like than before, than part one. Cause now the studio gave them more money, so it looks better.
This horror to rise up.
There's some unsettling similarities to the 100 Acre Massacre.
It's not safe. There have been loads of murders leading to Ashdown.
Tell me everything you saw, please.
I knew that this day would come.
All of Ashdown will burn.
I'm not on fucking mute. Yo, that was even better. Obviously, that was better than the first trailer, than part one. Okay, I'm definitely gonna watch these. Definitely gonna watch these. Check this out right here. I haven't seen none of them, but I gotta check. I gotta actually watch them. I'm not gonna lie, man. I haven't seen a horror movie in a minute. It's been a minute. You know. Okay. Let's go here.
Picture this.
They want to make a movie of our podcast?
I'm back, baby!
Let's talk movies!
Check this out, guys. This trailer here is for. I gotta actually see these movies now. This is the Mean One trailer. This one came out in 2022. All right.
Remember that story about Cindy You-Know-Who? When her Christmas was stolen, she knew what to do.
Why, Santa Claus? Why?
But what if I said that's not how it went down?
You gonna be okay? Because we can turn around right now.
No.
Poor girl. Her mother was killed. Her mind snapped.
Did you ever find the Christmas killer?
Never got a reliable description of the man.
Dad? He is out there! What if the Christmas killer is back?
This town cannot go through another Christmas killer thing. Not again.
Us folks down in Newville, we liked Christmas a lot. But that thing that lives just north of Newville does not.
What is it?
The mean one. He's slippery, he's elusive. He's a mean one, that mister.
I'm not gonna be a victim anymore. Time to roast this beast.
You're a dead one, mister.
Wow. So, once again, the reason they're doing these movies like this is because now, like, the domain, after, like, what is it, 50 years, 80 years, whatever certain amount of time, then they can just go ahead and, you know, you can do parodies, basically, of them. You know what I mean? You can't do the exact same thing that the movies are doing, but, you know? Okay, now, getting to the more recent stuff, right? Then when that came out, they dropped this right here, right now. I don't think this is connected. I could be wrong, but this one is, once again, and I haven't seen none of these movies, you know what I mean? But this one here is called Mickey's Mousetrap, because they can't name it Mickey Mouse, you know what I mean? So this one's Mickey's Mousetrap. So we got this one, and then the new trailers that I guess just dropped today. Check this out. Now, just like everything else, Mickey Mouse also passed that limit time where now people can make a movie, like anybody. I can make a movie. You can make a movie about Mickey Mouse. But you can't name a Mickey Mouse. I believe it's Steamboat Willie. Originally, Mickey Mouse's name was Steamboat Willie. So we can make movies of Steamboat Willie, but not Mickey Mouse, the Disney character. We can't.
These are the best party that we can throw.
I've seen some rejections in my time, but man, that was a lot.
I don't think this movie's connected to that universe. This one. I think the new one that just came out today is. But I don't think this one is connected, but...
There's blood all over the jungle gym.
Blood.
Yes.
say Steamboat Willie? The black and white Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, he's like completely in love with me already. It's totally disgusting.
Put the phone down! Put the phone down, please!
I was like, dude, I've already started.
No, Gina, turn around, please, Gina!
I'll be right back. Man, he's dead.
What?
Like if he was
But you see how low budget all these movies are?
in a horror movie, you never say, I'll be right back. Because then you don't.
Where the hell did he go?
Yeah, but that's just a dude in a freaking... That's just a dude in a mask, though. That's just a dude in a mask. Okay, well, but then again, the Winnie the Pooh ones, right? Part 1 looked like people in masks, you know? So, alright. Now, what basically got me to even checking out these trailers was because we got 2 new trailers that I'm guessing dropped today, right? It was in my my YouTube feed. So, first one is Steamboat, but it's actually called Screamboat. Okay, so this is actually on a steamboat, like Steamboat Willie. This is actually on a steamboat. So once again, I haven't seen these because I figured, you know, I was just about to go live, so why not just watch them all together? But check this out. And then we have a trailer to Peter Pan's scary movie. So we're gonna watch the Screamboat, but I don't see Mickey Mouse here, which is crazy. But we will also see a Peter Pan trailer. This one. This is Peter Pan. So let's go ahead and get to it.
We're not alone. I heard stories about a monster that lurked in the...
That's the actual worst. Yep, I even know the words.
Underbelly of the ferry. After 90 years, he's actually out in the public. Steamboat Willie.
Hold the phone. Did you see that?
After 90 years, he's actually out in the public.
Did you see that?
He's actually out in the...
Right here. We got little feet moving. What? We're actually gonna get the official Steamboat Willie. We're not gonna get no guy in a freaking mask. Like, so you see? So, this makes more sense. So, like I said, so that first one, I still want to see it just to check it out. You know what I mean? because that one was, they literally dropped it. They announced it like the day that they said, okay, you guys can start making Steamboat Willie movies. Shit, they already had a movie made. So, but this right here might be part of the Monster Universe. You want to make Mickey Mouse small, just like he is. You know what I mean? How he's supposed to. And I'm guessing, like, look, we see him. I'm guessing he's gonna be black and white, white shoes, black legs. You know, like black and white. So that's bugged out. We getting a accurate Steamboat Willie. That's cool.
He's actually out in the public. Steamboat Willie.
Look at him right there. Hat and everything. Big ass shadow, right? Big ass shadow. And then you're gonna just see him walk in and all looking all little and shit. Holy snaps. Yo, he's gotta be part of that Monster Universe. He has to be.
It's the happiest place on earth.
There you have it. January 2025. Wow. Yo, I really hope that he's part of that universe. You know what I mean? That they update the poster and all that stuff. Because that'll be dope. You know what I mean? Because he has to be, right? Because why not? Why drop both trailers if he's not? But check this out. Last trailer, guys. Last trailer. Then we're going to go ahead and jump to some Daredevil Born Again story time. So this I also seen on my feed. So let's go ahead and check this out. So now we know that this is going to be part of the Monster Universe. So you know that's a fact. He's on the poster. You know, so let's go ahead and check out the trailer to Peter Pan. Let's go here. There we go. Alright, so this is going to be the trailer to Peter Pan. Part of the Monster Universe.
Wake it.
If you guys noticed, that intro was in all the other movies. This one. So, Jagged Edge Productions is the one that's been pumping out these movies. Same thing with the Winnie the Pooh. Same thing with the, I think Steamboat. Didn't Steamboat also was this one? Damn, we gotta go back. I gotta go back later on and check on that. Right? That'll let me know if it's in the same Monster Universe. But let's check it out. New Peter Pan. I'm not gonna lie. I hope this trailer is really good and they show more than the Steamboat Willie. I mean, the Steamboat Willie was cool, but we didn't get to really see him. We saw his shadow. But I hope we get to see something here.
Wakey, wakey. Peekaboo.
How did you get down there?
I'm Peter. It's nice to meet you.
What? That's supposed to be Peter Pan? He said, I'm Peter.
When Timmy went missing, what do you remember?
He's close to Neverland, and he must act now to take the children with him.
It's time to collect.
Oi, freak! You gonna pay for that?
I'm Peter.
Do you know what I have?
Don't worry about Michael.
Yo, that reminds me of that movie, like vibes, right? It gave me vibes of Black Phone, because of he's kidnapping kids, throwing them in the truck. He's talking on the phone, like you know, like that black. You seen the movie The Black Phone, and then it's giving me vibes of like the clown, you know, Pennywise, with the whole dragging that. So, okay.
I'm gonna take you to Neverland.
So if you need a hand...
See, doesn't that mask remind you of the black phone? The black phone. That's what that reminds me of.
Wow. Who wants to come to Neverland with me?
It's my duty to send the kids to Neverland and protect them from this world. In a place where you can be a little boy for the rest.
Yo, wait a minute, whoa. So is he taking out kids? Like he's taking them out? What the hell? What the?
Of your existence.
Get back to me!
Marco? Polo. Marco? Polo.
Holy snaps. Yo, that was more crazy than the Steamboat Willie. Yo, that's gotta be part of it. I mean, we know that this is part. Yo, that was freaking more gory. Yo, I gotta watch this whole universe thing. And then, supposedly, guys, they're supposed to put all of these people together. Okay? Once again, we're supposed to see all of these people together in a movie. All of these monsters. But once they get their own movie, we got a Pinocchio movie, we got the Bambi, Little Mermaid. So, once they come out with their own movie first, then we're gonna get a whole Avengers movie. Monsters Assemble. But I don't understand. What kind of movie can you make with all of them? Like, they're gonna all be cool with each other? You know what I mean? And just kill everybody? You know what I mean? Or they're gonna fight each other and then a bigger threat is gonna come along and then they gotta team up. That shit sounds stupid. Oh man. You know what I mean? Oh, that's crazy. And then the Little Mermaid. What the hell is the Little Mermaid gonna do? Yo, I am real curious of seeing that Little Mermaid movie, yo. That is crazy. That is crazy. But, enough of that. Enough of that. That was pretty cool, man. But, anyway, I figured I'd let you guys know about that because that was in my feed. I saw that interesting. I'm like, yo, hold up. And then I remember that photo from when they dropped it back in the day. I'm like, yo, hold up. You know what I mean? So, let's go ahead now and get queued up. We're gonna have a good time. This is gonna be a good one by Comics Explained. It's gonna be really good. We're actually gonna be doing two of them. They're gonna be two Daredevil stories because they are going to be part of the show. So I kind of want to see what they take of it. Do they do it exactly how it is in the book? You know what I mean? So that's why I kind of like doing these, especially close when the show is gonna be coming out. I mean, the show comes out next year, so but it'll be cool. Okay, so we have that one, and we have this one. Okay, that's ready, and that's ready. Alright, we are ready, guys. Yo, misogynism, what it do, baby? Yo, right on time. We're about to be hitting up right now some of the Comics Explained, the Daredevil Born Again storyline, which is the story that Marvel's gonna be telling when it comes to the new Daredevil Disney Plus show coming out. We did do I was checking out some trailers from that MonsterVerse that they're doing for Little Mermaid, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, fucking Winnie the Pooh and all that. So yeah, we were checking out all those trailers because you know what? I've never seen none of those movies, but now I'm gonna watch them all so I can watch the whole big Avengers monster movie. That's gonna be crazy. So, Crackpot in the house. What it do? What it do? You guys come in, yo. Smash that like button, yo. Smash that like button. It does help out the channel. We're about to get started on some motherfucking story time. Story time. So, yeah. We'll get me a refill. And when I come back, we're about to head up at Daredevil. So listen, we're about to do 2 stories, and because this is the story that is going to be in the show, right? So we're going to have the Born Again story, which is what they're going to do in the show, right? Then we're going to have another story introducing Muse. Muse is a villain that is also going to be the bad guy in the show. So if we're gonna see him in the show, you're gonna be like, damn, who the fuck is this guy? You wanna know who this guy is? He is really fucked up. Like in the comic, but like I read these comic books a long time ago. But this bad guy Muse is like, yo. So I figured let's check out the Born Again storyline, and then we're gonna check out the Muse storyline, which is also part of the Daredevil comic. I think it'll be like probably I don't know if it's his origin of Muse, but we're gonna check it out, guys. Alright, let me go ahead, get a quick refill. So we can get the party started. The OGs are here. Alright, give me a second, man. We're about to have a good time, man. We're about to have a good time. We chilling, baby. It's Saturday. All right, baby, we back. Oh yeah, we back. Let's do this. Woo! All right, hey, once again, I gotta say it every time, yo. Before we even get started, you know what I mean, yo. In the words of my 2 main men, Deadpool and Wolverine, let's fucking go. Alright, but before we do, once again, guys, want to stress it. I want to stress it. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna watch all the damn Daredevil Netflix shows because they're all canon. We're gonna have a good time. Make sure you guys follow the Heroes and Villains Collectibles Twitch, because that's the only place we can go ahead and stream the Marvel movies, we're gonna be streaming the Daredevil shows. I'm gonna start watching from season 1. So we got season 1, 2, and 3 already on Netflix. And then when this shit drops, this is technically season 4. You know what I mean? Because it's all canon. So we're gonna have a good time. Make sure follow Heroes and Villains Collectibles, Twitch. It's all the links are pinned to the chat, and it's also on the what is it? Description, all that good stuff. Can't stress it enough, guys. I promise you, we're gonna have a good ass time. Cause when we watch all these movies, we're gonna talk about it. Y'all motherfuckers gonna be educated. You're gonna be like, oh shit, you know? So, oh, I got hiccups. Alright. Once again, one last time, Heroes and Villains Collectibles, Twitch. Holla at your boy. Make sure you guys follow us for some streaming. Okay, let's see. The OGs are here except for Claire. Yeah, I haven't seen Claire. Go piss, you know you gotta go. No, I didn't have to. I was actually thinking about it, but no, for me to go pee, I would have just put the timer. You know what I mean? Because if once you break the seal, I don't know about you guys, but if once you break the seal and I'm peeing for like about 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So that's when I gotta put the 5-minute timer. So we're good. And my refrigerator is right there. You know what I mean? Crackpot in the house. Is LC wearing grills? I need to get some. Oh, y'all like the grills? Yeah, I mean, I got these grills when I was like, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, I was like 21. You just can't see them. So it says LC. You got L. You got L. I got C. L. And then C. And then the fangs. I got my initials on them. So you got white gold, yellow gold. So I am 42 years old. 42, 43. 40, I don't even know how old I am. 42, 43. And I've had these since I was 21. So pretty cool. But yeah, sometimes I just forget I forgot I had them. You know what I mean? So forgot I had them the thing. Polished them up, cleaned them out real good. I'm like, oh man, got my grill. Haven't worn them in a while. And then I cleaned them out, polished them real good, popped them in. I'm like, let me see if they fit. Fine, yeah. So why not rock them if I got them? You know what I mean? They weren't cheap anyways. When I got them back in the day, you know shit, back in the day, 21, when I was 21 years old, shit. That was what? 42, that was about 21, that was about 21 years ago. That was like 21 years ago. If I'm 42, I said if I'm 42. That's fucking crazy. But alright, yo, let's get to story time. Let's get to story time. Breaking the seal is for real, LOL. Yo, I ain't bullshitting. I'm gonna go outside and spark up. Be right back. Yo, I had to do that already. I can't be sparking up on stream. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know how it is. When I gotta get off camera, that's when I'm sparking up, baby. All right, let's go ahead and get to this. Let's do it, baby. Story time. Daredevil. Where we at? Bam. Making sure we good. Hold up, I have people trying to call me, but I'm not answering. We good. What's this? Okay, cool. Got people hitting me up. I'm like, I'm busy right now, B. Alright, it's story time. I'm like, it's story time. Alright, let's do this. Alright. So, once again, we're going to hit up 2 stories. This is going to be part of what they're going to be showing in the Disney Plus next year. What the Daredevil show is going to be all about. I think it's 12 episodes. It was going to be like 28, but I think it's like 12 or 18 episodes. I think it's 18 episodes. But yeah, let's go ahead and hopefully they stay as close to the comic as possible, man. Cause this is a badass. So let's get into it, man. Smash that like button, yo. Smash that like button, people. Let's do it. Whether you guys are watching now or watching later, let's get into it. It's get your popcorns out, get your drinks out. It's story time, baby. Wait a minute. You guys couldn't hear it.
We have never covered Daredevil Born Again, and I'm kind of surprised by it. So, this opens up with Karen Page. And most of you guys know Karen Page as basically the secretary, or at least at one point, the secretary of Daredevil. In this particular instance, Karen Page had basically quit her job with Daredevil, and she followed the wide-eyed girl's dream of going to Hollywood and making it big. And 4 times she did, but then her career fell off. So she went down to Mexico, started making adult films, eventually became a drug addict, and her life is in an incredibly bad place at the moment. And so, because of the fact that she's so desperate, she sells the identity of Daredevil as Matt Murdock to just some low-level guy for a drug hit. And like, that's it. That's all it is. It's not for huge amounts of money or anything like that. Now, eventually, this information works its way up the chain as you...
Remember, guys, you have to make sure that you watch. That's what I'm saying, man. Make sure you follow us on the Twitch, because I'm going to be watching the Daredevil show from season 1. So let's say if in the show they do this, right? And we see Karen Page and this happens and gives up the daddy and all this happens. You're going to be like, man, what the hell's going on? It ain't going to mean nothing to you. So all of this is canon to the all 3 seasons and the Netflix shows. So you gotta watch all the Netflix shows, 3 seasons, dope ass seasons, and then that's when they introduce Punisher. Then we got the Punisher show, you know what I mean? And Punisher's also gonna be in the damn show, you know what I mean? In like 1 or 2 episodes. So that's gonna be awesome. But you gotta make sure you watch the Netflix shows because it's all canon. So you're gonna be like, yo, I didn't see that. That didn't. I mean, yo, but you're not watching from season 1. So make sure you guys follow the Twitch, guys. We're going to watch all that. We're watching all that.
You would expect, and eventually gets to the Kingpin Wilson Fisk. Now, that's one of the big misconceptions about Kingpin in Marvel Comics, that he only ever operates in New York. 9 times out of 10, yes.
I'll give you an example. If you watch the show, and you don't watch the old Netflix shows, and you just jump in and watch the Disney Plus, Kingpin already knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. So you're going to be like, yo, what the hell? How the hell does he know that he's... Because he found out in season 2 or 3. You know what I mean? That he was Daredevil. You know? So you got to watch the old one, because in this one it's all, like I said, it's all canon. So Kingpin already knows who Daredevil is and all that when we get into the show. You know what I mean? That's why you got to watch the old ones.
He's in New York City doing criminal stuff, but Kingpin's worldwide. He has informants all over the place, so it makes sense, especially down in Mexico, that it would work its way up there. And this is information that Kingpin cannot pass up. And so what he does is, over the course of about 6 months, which is kind of a time skip here, he goes to work on Matt Murdock. The first thing he does is he uses contacts at the IRS to basically initiate an ongoing audit on Matt Murdock, which is to say, the IRS starts an audit and there's no end in sight, but it gives them the authority to freeze his assets. So he has no money aside from whatever he happens to have in his wallet. At the exact same time that happens, his girlfriend Glory breaks up with him. Beyond that, he ends up getting served a subpoena to appear before a grand jury for the fact that he is basically taunting witnesses. And this is testimony coming directly from a police officer whose record is spotless. So like right off the bat, things are falling apart. Now, the IRS is...
Now you see in the story how fast that shit done flipped on him. You know what I mean? Once everybody found out who he was. Now, in the show, like besides his friends, you know what I mean? But Kingpin already knows who he is. But not to the fact that it got to this point yet. But the new show could literally bring this out now because they didn't touch on this yet. You know what I mean? So Kingpin now he knows who he is. They can come back on this, and then he can literally right now work together because that's what it's about. It's about Muse doesn't like Daredevil, and Muse is trying to attack Kingpin. So they gotta work together to defeat Muse. You know what I mean? But once they defeat Muse, Kingpin could turn around and do this same thing right here to fucking Daredevil and ruin his whole life. Like, you know, with money and all that bullshit.
Is the biggest part. Because of the fact that his assets are frozen, he can't pay any of his bills. That means that his apartment gets foreclosed on, all that kind of stuff, right? He loses everything. And so following that, you do momentarily switch over to Ben Urich. Now, he's not a significant part of this particular story right now. He does become important later on in the story. In fact, he's arguably one of the most important people in the story as you get through it. What this does, though, is it switches to Daredevil going to visit Nicholas Manolis, who's the police officer that's supposedly testifying against him. And Daredevil doesn't really like try to pummel the guy or anything like that. It's just kind of like, wow, man, 20 years, you've had a spotless record, and then suddenly you're lying about Matt Murdock? Like, what in the world's going on? But he doesn't really get any answers. Instead, Daredevil just gets chased out of the apartment by Nick, who just starts brandishing like a broken beer bottle at him, right? And so, of course, Nick ends up calling up, the Kingpin and saying, hey, Daredevil came to visit me. You guys may want to check this out. Yes, like, I'm still working with you guys. Now, the cool thing about this is that Nick is not some corrupt cop. I mean, he's acting like one, and I guess technically now he is, but he's actually got a tragic story, because what you find out here is that Nick's son is in the hospital with a heart condition, and because of the amount of money that it takes in order to get to work on this kid with surgery and whatnot, he can't afford it between his healthcare plan and cash on hand. So he ended up being approached by the Kingpin, who offered to help him in order for him to testify falsely against Daredevil. So it's just a father doing whatever it is that he needs to do for his son. And that's the reason why Daredevil doesn't overhear this conversation and then jump back into the apartment and just start beating Nick within an inch of his life, right? Because he just feels bad for the guy. Now, the other part of this is Foggy Nelson. But again, Foggy Nelson's role here is more supportive than anything else, just kind of an ongoing member of Daredevil's life. But what's kind of nuts is that Wilson Fisk gets these updates over a period of time, right? It says, for the next few weeks, things go poorly for Matt Murdock. He writhes like a fly in a spider's web. My web, thinks the Kingpin, so carefully woven, so neatly placed. His plant at the law library reports to the crime lord of Murdoch's days spent working with his partner Foggy Nelson beyond all fatigue, striving to form a defense against the perfect frame. Photographs taken by telescope for the man's defenses are yet unknown. Provide a stop-motion study of Murdoch's deterioration. Most delicious are the nights as low-level stoolies like distant nerve endings tell of increasingly violent, increasingly aberrant assaults by a warrior whose fists are no...
What up, Fierce? What's going on, buddy? Everything good, brother, man? What it do?
help against the corrosive gas that fills his life. Assaults which climax in an enlightening episode. It happens in a waterfront saloon, one he frequents to pry information from the lowest echelon of my organization, one he enters now as an angry beggar with no sense of caution or strategy. And it's just like Daredevil going through this bar, trashing everything, assaulting everyone, asking if anybody knows about Matt Murdock. And that's one of the things that you're going to realize here over the course of this story. Matt Murdock goes more and more insane. It's not just enough to strip him of his ability to function in life, but it's to also break him on a mental and emotional level, with Daredevil being unable to find any clue, hide nor hair, of who's behind all of this. He's fighting shadows. And so what we're told here is no one tells him anything of value, no one could, but one. For I have kept my movements scattered among a dozen lieutenants, none of whom possess more more than a single scrap of information. I have given the word from Stilson to Karen Page. All who might know will die. Daredevil is Matthew Murdock and more. There is a rift inside him, a wedge steadily weakening his reason, steadily driving him insane. Through it all, I am told Murdock is a ghost, a shell of a man, because that's the other part of this. Anybody who knows the identity of Matt Murdock, a kill hit has been ordered by the Kingpin. He wants to be the only one who knows the secret identity of Matt Murdock. More so than that, those who do know Matt Murdock's secret identity are basically people he can go to, people who can talk to. But if all those folks are out of the picture, if they're dead and gone, if someone like Karen Page is gone, there's no one there to offer safety to Matt Murdock, and there's no one there to reveal that Kingpin is the one that's behind all of this. And
the one thing we do know about Marvel when it comes to them making the movies is they don't follow the comics exactly. Like we might see a couple of things that resemble that's in the comic books. We might see a scene that's a shot from the comic books. You know what I mean? But they don't be doing it exactly, like the comic book, but that's why I'm like, how much of it is gonna be like the comic book,
And so what we're told here is, even as he hears the much-tempered verdict of the court that he will not face a prison sentence as I'd planned, that he will lose his license to practice law, whatever reactions he has are hidden, even, I suspect, from himself. He faces poverty and public shame. He will be hounded by doctored tax files, deprived of his very home. Survival will become his only concern. Perhaps I will hire him, what's left of him, after a time, after he has learned how powerless he is. His talents would be valuable and his manner will crush itself. And so it's cool because it really is just breaking this guy down. More so than that, it shows how meticulous the Kingpin can be.
You got Kingpin smoking a blizzy. You know what I mean? Like, yo, man, I said I wrote up a fatty. I'm like, go ahead, man. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Kingpin. Vote that shit. Light that shit. Pass that shit.
Because when Kingpin comes after you, it won't be just you. It'll be you and anyone you ever met. Woe betide the poor soul that Kingpin sets his sights on, because there's no limit to how far he will go to take you out. Now, for Karen Page herself, her journey actually starts leading her to the United States, but it's not without its own trials and torments and whatnot, because as soon as she gets back to her apartment, or at least where she's supposed to be, there's a guy who's like looking to kill her, right? A person sent there by Kingpin. So most of her story is her just fleeing from down in Mexico and trying to find a way to New York, which she ends up doing, albeit basically hitching a ride with a pretty shady guy, as you would expect from somebody in her circumstance. For Matt Murdock, this is where things go from bad to worse, because with like $10 in his pocket and 30 days until he's foreclosed on by the bank and no money to pay the debts that he owes, he makes his way back to his apartment only for it to be blown to pieces. It literally gets blown up by the Kingpin. So now he has nowhere to go. He's got no home, he's got no money, no nothing. But here's a crazy thing. You would expect him to turn to someone like Foggy Nelson, but it doesn't, right? He uses the last $10 in his pocket to basically get a room at a pretty seedy hotel that has no real heating of any kind, and he's basically just freezing in this place, right? He's got the window closed, but it's not really doing a whole lot against the cold outside there in the world. And he just kind of starts to descend down into this madness. He's
Yo, how many of you guys are ready to see Ben Affleck back as Daredevil in Secret Wars? Daredevil back as Daredevil back as Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck back as Daredevil in Secret Wars with Charlie Cox as Daredevil. You know what I mean? Oh man! But yeah, the word on the block is yeah, it's happening.
Convinced that it's Kingpin, but he doesn't know that it's Kingpin.
which makes sense because we already had Elektra, you know what I mean, in Deadpool and Wolverine. So why would we not have Daredevil?
And that's one of the big differences between how you see Daredevil in this story and how you traditionally see Daredevil in Marvel Comics. He'll say he knows a thing.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get Deadpool, Wolverine back, and we're also getting my man Gambit. They're gonna be mi level. They're gonna be mi level. I want to make a name for myself here. I was watching Deadpool and Wolverine again today, earlier. I'm about to make a name for myself here. You just tell everybody what happened here today. I really want them to make a hot toy Channing Tatum Gambit. Like they got the Deadpool, they got the Wolverine. Give me a Gambit, Channing Tatum. Give me his Gambit. I will buy that fucking hot toy. I'm about to make a name for myself here. I was watching that movie today again.
Thing, but it's usually done by way of like intimidation, right? Getting a person to believe that he's holding all the cards, and this person, seemingly having no way out, spills the beans. In this instance, it's the ravings of a madman, right? He's just screaming at the ether about the fact that Kingpin's behind him and all that kind of stuff. Then he starts to convince himself that Foggy Nelson is a part of all of this. And so with Kingpin realizing that Matt Murdock's mental state is just deteriorating day by day, he knows it's only a matter of time before he does something too extreme, and that will ultimately land him in jail. The cool thing about this is things don't work out the way that Kingpin expects them to, but it doesn't happen the way you think it does. It's amazing the way this story ends is phenomenal. So what is going on here is that Matt Murdock calls up Foggy Nelson, and he's just kind of like screaming and raving about things, right? You know, I don't need to be in your all's lives and all that kind of.
He said, you got knocked the fuck out.
Stuff and, you know, so on and so forth, and just kind of hangs up on everybody, but he's showing like very, very manic habits, things that just look like a guy who's having a psychotic break. Then he calls back up and he tells Foggy, he's like, I'm on to you, Nelson, and then hangs up the phone. And it's just kind of nuts, right? The things that he's doing. More so than that, like the actual apartment manager or hotel manager, whatever you want to call him, shows up there to collect money from Matt Murdock. Matt just like beats the crap out of the guy and then leaves, right? And so what you end up getting here is this almost kind of play-by-play, which is something that Kingpin gets
Shouldn't have been talking shit.
routinely on the goings-on of Matt Murdock. And you basically learn that he's just like sitting on a train, and there's these guys who show up on the train and they start brandishing firearms and threatening everybody, right? Saying, you know, we're going to rob you. And he doesn't do anything. He just sits there until one of the guys points a gun at him. And then he just starts fighting like a man possessed and almost kills them, right? In fact, I think he actually does kill one of them. It's crazy, right? I mean, he just beats these guys bloody. And then there's a cop who shows up that has no clue what's going on. He just sees a dude on a train attacking everybody. He tells Matt Murdock to freeze, and Matt beats the crap out of a cop. And that's when Kingpin's like, this guy's broken, right? Like he's done, like dunzo, that's it. But not only is Matt Murdock assaulting cops, Kingpin knows he's doing it because he's growing increasingly paranoid, because Matt Murdock, following this, calls up Foggy Nelson, right, and just kind of tells him about what's going on. And what he says here is like, I'm losing my mind, I'm having a psychotic break, like I attacked a cop and I was convinced the cop was working for the Kingpin. I don't know what's going on, but like I need to go confront the Kingpin, right? It's the best chance I have. Only for him to walk away from the phone and for us to find out he was never talking to Foggy Nelson. He was just talking into the phone like a maniac, right? This is how this guy is broken. I told you guys, right? This story gets so good. Like, it's so incredible. But like, Kingpin breaks him apart. It's incredible. And so finally, Matt Murdock makes this move where he goes to confront the Kingpin, and he just like shows up in the Kingpin's gym. And Kingpin knew this was going to happen. He knew that Matt Murdock
And then I hear about the fight him butt naked.
was going to come and find him at some point. But given how hard life has been for him, he's not going to be much of a challenge at all. And so Kingpin finally gets what he's always wanted, which is the chance to break Daredevil. And that's what happens, man. This fight is brutal. I mean, it is intense. And Kingpin crushes this.
If I'm not mistaken, in the either season 2 maybe, or season 3, like they did, if I'm not mistaken, they did do, or season 1 they could, but I don't really remember. But I think they did do a version of Karen Page like being an alcoholic. You know what I mean? I think they did that in the Netflix show. Could be wrong, but I think I seen that. You know?
Sky in no uncertain terms. And while Daredevil's just laying on the ground like, I'm never gonna give up, right? I'm gonna fight you until my dying breath. Kingpin's like, well then allow me to oblige, and just delivers this final blow. After that, they take the body of Matt Murdock, they throw it into a taxi cab.
And then in the show, the only time what is it? Kingpin beats the shit out of Daredevil is in like the visitors scene, you know what I mean? So Matt Murdock shows up, Daredevil shows up as a lawyer, and then they start having a conversation. Kingpin is locked up, and then next thing you know, Kingpin just gets up and starts beating the shit out of Daredevil.
And they drive it off into the East
Who's Matt Murdock, the lawyer?
River, believing that Matt Murdock is dead. This dude digs himself out of a car and just goes lumbering through the alleyways of New York City. And so at that point, just in Hell's Kitchen, he ends up stumbling across the gym that his dad worked out in. And what he does is, as he's there, he just ultimately kind of passes out. And then he's saved by a nun, which admittedly is kind of his mom here, right? It's one of the things that Frank Miller was toying.
Spoiler alert, that nun, mommy, that's his mama. That's his mama.
With. And so for a good portion of this story, Daredevil is actually rehabilitated by his mother, right? They nurse him back to health, and then he starts going to work. So what we're going to do for a good little bit of this is we're going to sidetrack from Daredevil for a second and talk about what's going on with the other characters, because all these roles start to come together and converge at the end of this story. And I want to kick things off here with Ben Urich, because one of the things that happens is that Ben Urich, knowing Matt Murdock as he does, knows that Matt Murdock wouldn't just like taunt a witness arbitrarily, as it was explained by that officer Nicholas Manolis in that court testimony. And so what ends up happening is that Ben Urich goes to visit Nick and starts talking to him about his kid. Now, of course, Ben Urich is an incredibly accomplished reporter to the point that he's actually a pretty accomplished detective. And so his investigations lead him to finding Nick in the hospital with his son. And he just kind of starts talking to him, right? He's like, how's your kid doing? And like Nick offers a little bit of his guard down and kind of implying the fact that yes, his testimony was false, that yes, he was kind of paid to do it, but he doesn't really offer a whole lot. Instead, the two of them go outside following the death of his son, which happened shortly after midnight. And that's when Nick's just like, even after everything I did, my son couldn't be saved. And so he effectively agrees to become a confidential informant for Ben Urich as a source and dump all the information. And that's when you find out the nurse that had been working alongside Nick this entire time is actually a henchman for the Kingpin. She shows up and she pummels Nick, and then she breaks every finger on one of Ben Urich's hands, and she tells them, if you were a publisher, my employer would destroy your presses. Since you're merely a typist and it would not be persuasive to destroy your typewriter, my employer has asked me to make it plain to you that every time you speak the name Matthew Murdock, you shall lose the use of your fingers. And so she breaks all 5 fingers on one hand, and then she pummels Nick within an inch of his life and makes Ben Urich watch the entire time. Now, as far as Karen Page goes, because she's trying to flee from these assassins of the Kingpin, she ends up just like making her way through this kind of side alley in Mexico. And because she's fixing for a hit so bad, she ends up robbing a beggar, right? And like when this guy tries to stop her, she just like cracks him over the head with a vase and seemingly kills the guy, grabs his money, and then bails. Now, this ultimately leads her coming into contact with a pretty shady guy who agrees to like bring her to the United States, but it's pretty bad, right? He's just kind of like, look, I need some company on my trip up there, if you understand what I'm saying, right? I do for you, you do for me. It's pretty bad, but ultimately she agrees to do it because at this point in her life, she's pretty much at rock bottom. There's very little that she's not willing to sacrifice in order to get to where she needs to go. Here's a crazy thing. With this guy that she's with, these assassins show up. You know what this dude does? This dude unloads with both barrels of that shotgun, blows these guys to pieces, and is just like, you better be worth it, snatches her up, and then heads to New York City. The cool thing about all of this is that Wilson Fisk is working out, exercising, but there is a thought in his head that he cannot get rid of. There was
working out that gut. He got that gut.
There's no corpse in the taxi cab. Matt Murdock isn't dead. And for the first time in a long time, Wilson Fisk starts to feel a tinge of fear. The other thing about this is that for Ben Urich himself, right, witnessing what happened to Nick while Nick's not dead, it really, really breaks him almost on a personal level where he's like, I don't really want to be involved with this anymore. It's one of these instances where he almost abandons the story. And so switching over to Karen, she ends up getting a hold of Foggy Nelson and actually kind of takes off to go meet him, but not without being assaulted by what's basically her drug supplier now, is really who this guy is, and tells her like, come back or like I will find you and then I'll kill you. And so switching back to Ben for a second, while he's there at the Daily Bugle, he meets with J. Jonah Jameson, and Jameson tells him like, what you're doing here is not the first time that I've ever seen this happen. It's one of the coolest moments with Jameson here. And he's like, I have seen so many instances where a reporter comes up on a fantastic story that involves some kind of criminal in some capacity, and then suddenly they lose all interest, right? You may not want to tell me what's going on, but I know that you've been intimidated. But here's the thing. In this line of work, we are the most powerful people on the face of the planet. 5 million readers worth of power. We can depose mayors. We can destroy presidents. And it's been due to get aimed at the Kingpin for years now.
That shot right there, he looked like J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man.
But it needs you to do it. Stop taking the coward's way out. As a reporter, you are going to put your life on the line, and you're going to put the people that you care about in jeopardy. That just comes with the nature of it. So either be a reporter or be somewhere else. Right? It's really cool, but it's not Jameson like laying into Ben Urich. It's Jameson being real with him and telling him what it really means to be a reporter. But what ends up happening is that while Ben Urich ultimately stands down from the story itself, while he's at his desk getting basically yelled at by his superiors, he gets a phone call from Nurse Lois, the woman that accosted him and Nick. And because of the fact that Nick had called up Ben and said, I'm ready to testify and tell you everything that you want to know about how Kingpin is involved, Lois is in his room. She literally takes the phone away from Nick, she puts the receiver down on the bed, and she makes Ben Urich listen to Nick dying as she chokes him to death. The idea here is that it was going to put Ben off the story. It was going to intimidate him so badly that he just couldn't do it. The opposite happens, and it actually inspires him to work even harder on the story than he was before. And so what ends up happening is you switch over to Karen meeting with Foggy, and as the two of them kind of start talking, Karen doesn't really spill the beans on the fact that she's the reason all of this is happening in the first place. She talks a little bit about how hard her life has been and the fact that she's just made a series of poor decisions that took her from bad to worse. But when she reveals that the guy she's with is beating on her, then Foggy's just like, you're not going back there, right? And where she's just like, oh my God, no, he's gonna kill us. Foggy's like, I mean, he's hardly the first guy to make a threat like that, right? Like, if he really wanted to kill you, you'd be dead by now, right? And so he ends up grabbing her and they go back to his apartment. And so after his recovery, a lot of what Daredevil does, Matt Murdock does, is just kind of going back and getting his body back to a solid physical state at Fogwell's gym, right? Where his dad used to work out at all the time. So it's slowly kind of rebuilding his strength. But there is this really amazing moment with Kingpin. So what happens here is Kingpin's in a meeting with all of his lieutenants, and that while they're talking, they've all kind of been talking amongst themselves about this vendetta that Kingpin has with Matt Murdock, and that doing things like blowing up his apartment and stuff like that, while it does send a message, it's a little too on the nose, right? And despite the general public's illusion that Kingpin is a legitimate businessman, the reality is that everybody in the criminal underworld and most of the superheroes out there know that he is a tried and true gangster. So he's basically signing his name for those who were intelligent enough to see it. And so one of these guys stands up and is like, look, here's the thing about this personal vendetta, right? Like, we're just asking you to explain why you hate and are going after Murdock so much. And so what happens is Kingpin doesn't answer him. Instead, he just says, Mr. Switzer, this is a check for your current market value for your shares in the conglomerate. Take it or your family dies. You were all dismissed. He literally just gets rid of him on the spot. And then his assistant basically says, Mr. Switzer has a weekend in Colorado planned. He loves to ski. The response of Wilson Fisk, compound fracture, both legs. Has this guy's legs broken like that. It's dope, dude. I love the way Kingpin is done in Frank Miller's run. He's so incredible over the course of this story. And so what ends up happening is you kind of switch back over to Ben Urich again. Don't worry, guys. Not going to leave you hanging on Matt Murdock, right? We're going to wrap back around. It gets dope. What you do is you switch over to Ben Urich. And Ben Urich's just kind of talking to like the cops and everybody around him, at least the cop that was brought in, like, hey, here was the deal. Nick was going to testify and he was going to say that Wilson Fisk Kingpin basically told him, we will help you save your son. I'll give you the money you need for the surgery. perjury, and you will testify falsely. You'll perjure yourself, basically, against Matt Murdock. And so what he ends up doing is taking this story and putting it out there in a 6-part series in the newspaper by the Daily Bugle. So now word is out, right? It's really more rumor than anything else. People don't really know how much of this is true. But now word's out there on the street that Wilson Fisk Kingpin is not a legitimate businessman. This guy is actually a criminal that is basically engaging in a bunch of criminal activities, both blue collar and white collar. And so Lois herself is actually dismissed by her employer, but instead she decides to go directly after Ben Urich herself. And so what happens is that when Matt Murdock meets with Ben, they end up heading back to Ben's apartment only to find out that like Lois is there. So a fight breaks out between Lois and Matt while Ben Urich goes to find his wife, who was basically hung, right? Like literally just there. I mean, she's not dead, right? She's like gurgling and that kind of thing. So ultimately he cuts her down. But for Lois herself, I mean, they really kind of beat each other right to the point where they're basically unconscious. Matt's not dead, but of course this leads to Ben Urich calling the cops. The cops show up and the cops basically arrest her. The other part of this is that Stilson, the guy that normally works on the Daredevil suits for Matt Murdock, ends up calling Ben and saying, hey, look, man, like Kingpin and them are going to kill me unless I make this Daredevil costume. And of course, Matt Murdock, overhearing all of this, leaves Ben Urich. He goes to visit Stilson and he says, make the costume, right? Whatever it is that they have planned, go along with it, right? Like, I'm not some guy who's incapacitated anymore. I want to see how far down the rabbit hole this goes. The reason why this Daredevil costume is being made comes by way of Kingpin basically going to an asylum for the criminally insane and finding a psychopath who they're going to dress up as Daredevil.
You guys can see in the comic book, like, there's a lot of violence. Like, you see Daredevil whooping a lot of ass. So, I mean, ain't no doubt in the show, he's going to be whooping a lot of ass. Like, I just want action, action, action. You know what I mean? But once again, how much are they going to take from the actual story, you know?
Daredevil and then send him in to kill Foggy Nelson. And so what it's going to look like is not only has Matt Murdock basically been discredited, but now he can't even operate as Daredevil because Daredevil is going to be going on a murderous rage. And this is why I say all these pieces start coming together again, because when you have Karen Page at the apartment of Foggy Nelson, that Karen looks out the window and she sees her supplier down there. The guy's just waiting on her. Foggy Nelson calls the cop. This cop shows up and this drug supplier lets loose again with both barrels of the shotgun on this cop, and even his partner, right, takes them both out. But the whole area, that whole building with Foggy Nelson in it, Karen Page, and even this dude who's just out there doing his own thing is being observed by the Kingpin's henchman. And he tells them, if anybody comes out of that building, kill them, blow their heads off on the spot, be done with it, right? Like, that's it. And so this kind of crazy psychopath guy in a Daredevil costume shows up to the building for Matt Murdock to jump in right at the exact moment and attack this guy. And he just like beats the crap out of him, right? Like beats this dude unconscious. The fight's pretty intense. And in fact, it even makes its way up to a rooftop. While that's going on, you've got Karen Page fleeing for her life alongside her drug supplier who's firing back at these guys who were basically sent by the Kingpin trying to kill the two of them. Of course, her drug supplier is killed, and then Karen Page robs this guy, right? Like literally just like steals the drug fix off of this guy while she's being shot at the whole time. But then Matt Murdock arrives on the scene, takes these two guys out, saves Karen Page, and then Karen Page finally spills the beans on everything. She tells him, like, I'm the reason why you lost it all. I sold your identity to just some dude down in Mexico for a drug hit. He passed it up to the Kingpin, and that's why the Kingpin has been destroying your life. So now Matt Murdock has a target. Instead of him just falsely believing or just erratically believing it's the Kingpin, now he knows it's the Kingpin. Here's where things go crazy. With Wilson Fisk becoming more and more desperate to destroy Matt Murdock, he calls in Frank Simpson, also known as Nuke. Now, this is Nuke's first appearance in Marvel Comics with this story. But Nuke, man, this guy is crazy, right? When this dude shows up, man, this guy does not engage in stealth. This dude just shows up, guns blazing, right? That's just the nature of his character, right? He's absolutely bonkers. But before we get to that, we switch over to Ben Urich, who goes to visit Lois in jail, because now that she's basically been captured by the cops, as an agent of the Kingpin, she's like, I'll spill the beans. I'll tell you whatever it is that you want to know. Kingpin gets wind of this. So what he does is he sends in one of his own as a quote-unquote bodyguard for Ben Urich. He does this by basically finding some pretty shady photos about the police commissioner and then blackmails the police commissioner into having this done. It's kind of cool, right? So like once Lois starts to talk, this guy immediately pulls out a gun, blows her head off on the spot in front of God and all. Now, of course, Ben Urich goes to try to like stop this guy and take him out. And because he's so enraged, he ends up just grabbing this revolver off to the side and using the butt of this revolver beats this dude to death. But it's crazy because like everybody in here is dead. The cop, the legitimate cop who was a guard is dead. Lois is dead. There's another dude who's dead. It's just like Ben in here, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy. And so what you get is Kingpin who meets with Nuke. And what he does is he kind of feeds him all this false information, right? You know, like there's madness that's surrounding this place, right? The infection of the American spirit, you know, and Daredevil, Matt Murdock is the man that you need to be targeting because he is this corrupt anti-patriot feeding off the underbelly, the soft underbelly of our nation, that kind of thing. And so it basically leads to like Frank Simpson going after this guy. Now, Nuke does have a handler, and one of the things to know is the only reason Kingpin was able to even get his hands on Nuke is because he has contacts in the US military. So he was able to bribe a general in order to bring Frank Simpson back to the States to operate on behalf of the Kingpin, because you don't normally do that. You just send that dude into a village in Nicaragua somewhere and he just massacres everybody and like that's it. And that's what happens here, that because of the fact that Matt Murdock is basically working at a diner momentarily to support both himself and Karen Page, who he's helping to wean off of her drug addiction, Frank Simpson shows up in a helicopter and an M16 rifle with a rocket launcher on top and just starts shooting the place up, man. This dude just lets loose. It's crazy. He's firing rockets off left and right. I mean, it's nuts. Like, the stuff you see is bonkers here. There's like a helicopter that arrives on the scene, seemingly from cops, and just like Frank Simpson shoots it down with a gun, just like blows the thing to pieces. It crashes on a rooftop. And so Matt Murdock puts the Daredevil costume back on again. But here's the funny thing about this. This all actually took longer than he expected it to. That what he expected here was for Kingpin not to send somebody in this quickly, before it to take weeks to come to a head like this. Shadow games, different things like that. This tells Matt Murdock that Kingpin is getting sloppy and he's getting desperate. And so this fight between Matt and Nuke is nuts. I mean, it's basically just a ton of shooting. There is some hand-to-hand combat here, but Daredevil realizes pretty readily that Frank Simpson is more than he can handle in his current state. It really just comes down to him being more acrobatic as opposed to relying on brute strength, doing what he can, where he can, when he can. But it is pretty solid because as this fight unfolds, of course, as you would expect, Daredevil gets the upper hand on him. The problem is that because this fight is so extreme, it leads to the arrival of the Avengers. And Sal over at Comic Pop loves talking about this moment in Marvel, and I don't blame him for it, because when the Avengers arrive on the scene, you've literally got Daredevil just choking out Frank Simpson. He's getting ready to kill him. And Iron Man is just like, that man's ours on federal authority. Hand him over, right? You're not an Avenger, man. You're a street level guy. Let us deal with the bigger things here. And so Captain America and the Avengers take Nuke and they walk away. It's nuts. It's kind of crazy. Now here's a cool thing, and here's what's interesting here. Captain America comes back to visit Matt Murdock, and it's like, what's going on with this guy Frank Simpson? Like, what's the deal with Nuke? And even Daredevil's like, I have no idea who this guy is. So Captain America goes to visit a general, right? And he's like, what's going on?
Yeah, you see Captain America drawn. I mean, I don't know, man. Captain America be looking cool. He's always be looking cool as hell. Like when he draw me, you look at him, classic Cap. Like he looks dope.
With this Frank Simpson guy, and the general won't give him any straight answers. So Captain America ends up going to what's basically a top secret sub-level within this building and starts looking up files. And what you learn, and this is something that's been expanded on over the years in Marvel Comics, is that because of the success of Captain America in Project Rebirth, that while it's not explicitly stated here because it hadn't been created in Marvel Comics yet, that the organization Weapons Plus, which was responsible for creating Captain America, tried to create other super soldiers. Frank Simpson is one of those, as is Wolverine and Deadpool and all those different guys. And so it's him just kind of learning that like Project Rebirth lives on, right? And so ultimately, of course, switching over to Frank Simpson here for a second, things go sideways because this guy is so amped through a combination of his drugs, his schizophrenia, his cybernetic enhancements and whatnot. He flips his mind while he's in detainment, breaks his handcuffs and kills everybody except for the colonel or the general, the guy who controls him, takes one of his pills, which he literally has this like in his arm, right? Like pops this pill out, takes this thing, gets himself amped up, and then in turn goes back out there to try to find Daredevil again, right? Hunting this guy down. Now, of course, Captain America shows up here before Frank Simpson could get too far and absolutely pummels this guy. This, of course, leads to Daredevil finding out that, like, Frank Simpson's still there, things are going sideways. Captain America tries to take Frank Simpson to a rooftop. He gets sprayed down, or almost gets sprayed down, by, like, the colonel in the helicopter, right? Just, you know, that minigun that's stationed on that thing. But Daredevil saves them both. And so following that, Captain America deals with the soldiers while Daredevil realizes that because Frank Simpson had been contracted by the Kingpin, he's the ace in the hole. So what he does is he grabs Frank Simpson, throws him in a cab, and beelines directly to, like, Ben Urich. The problem here is that once he gets to the Daily Bugle, Frank Simpson succumbs to his wounds, right? Having been shot in the chest. So Frank Simpson basically dies. There's no information to be had here. Here's the benefit. Captain America had stumbled across one of the flunkies of Kingpin, but a guy who had just enough information to be able to spill the beans on what's going on, which is exactly what he does. He spills the beans on everything. And so what you end up getting are all these lawsuits that come out of nowhere. And while it's not the Kingpin who is completely and totally destroyed, thrown in prison for the rest of his life, it does destroy his reputation. But remember, this is the opening story for Frank Miller's Daredevil run. So what you get is basically Kingpin waging a one-man war on Matt Murdock, which is more intense than he ever had before. This leads to the introduction of Elektra, Bullseye, the death of Elektra. It's amazing! With that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like. If you want to see the rest, let me know down in the comments, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
Your father knows about saving money. Everything I'm wearing, I've had since boot camp.
And I just saved on my car insurance for driving safe with you.
The villain Muse has been...
Okay, so, check. That was really awesome because, once again, a lot of things from that comic book, I really hope that they adapt. Like I said, for me personally, I love, you know what I mean, that they follow the comic book. I understand, you know, some twists that they have to do. I think the way they see it is, if they do it exactly like the comic books, then you know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So we gotta change it up a little bit so you don't know what's gonna happen. So you know what I mean? And I understand that. You know what I mean? But I don't know how it's gonna do it. Like I said, I really think that the Karen Page, the whole being an alcoholic, I think they already played that hand in Netflix. I think I haven't seen those in a while. So, but we are going to jump on and check out. Just so you guys know, the Muse is a villain that is going to be in the new show. Okay, this is gonna be one of the last story times that we're gonna go ahead and check out. This is going to be like a presentation. I don't know if this is going to be an origin story to show about the Muse character, but all that I know is that this character is going to be in the Daredevil show. Now, are they going to do the character? Now, when you see this character in the comic books, it's gonna leave you wondering, like, yo, are they gonna do this character exactly like in the comic books? You know what I mean? Or are they gonna power him down? Or are they gonna do, you know what I mean? So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So let's go ahead and jump on the last story time. Okay, and this one is called Daredevil Hates Fighting Muse. Okay, so I had everything set up. I had everything already set up, queued up, and I have to get me look like a cookie or something. But we'll see. Give me a snack. But let's go ahead. Bam. Here we go. Smash that like, guys. Last story time here. We're gonna see who the hell the Muse is, And the Muse is a character, a villain that will be in the Daredevil show. So here we go.
The villain Muse has been announced as the main villain for Daredevil Born Again in the MCU, so we're going to cover the story with him. So this opens up basically with just a gigantic mural on a wall. And initially it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, right? Seems pretty innocuous. But what we find out right off the bat from Daredevil is that this entire mural is painted in blood. Now there's just this guy, right, who's just laying there next to the whole thing. Something I do also want to point out for a second is that there's a kid here who's named Blind Spot, right? His name is technically Sam Chung, and he actually wears a suit that's battery powered that allows him to go invisible. He's kind of like a sidekick to Daredevil, if there was such a thing in this day and age. But the fact remains, like, Sam doesn't really understand how dark things can be when it comes to the world of Daredevil. Because when you're talking about street level villains, right, guys like Jigsaw.
Now, Jigsaw, once again, Jigsaw, we got to see him in The Punisher. In The Punisher season 1 and season 2, we got to see Jigsaw. So that's gonna be, and we're gonna see Punisher in the new Daredevil Born Again show as well. Like, hey, it's all canon with the shows.
You know, Tombstone, Lonnie, different things like that. You're talking about some pretty hardcore villains who do some pretty hardcore stuff. But even Daredevil himself hasn't seen anything like this, because normally villains are fairly two-dimensional. They want money or power or something like that. But it's like Michael Caine said.
Once again, I'm warning you guys, this is a fucked up story. Like, this Muse guy is really fucked up. I know this story right here. This is fucked up.
Some men just want to watch the world burn. And so while they're talking about calling the cops,
I'll be back. I need to get a cookie or something.
which of course they do, the question that's asked by Blind Spot is, how much blood do you think it took to make this? And that's where Daredevil, kind of sniffing around, realizes that not all this blood comes from the same person. And he realizes it actually comes from at least 113 people. Now at that point you switch over to what's called the Durnan Gallery, and in fact it's kind of this gallery that's done based on the painting and all that kind of stuff, where the general public can come and see it, and court put a gag order in place that kept it from happening, and so on and so forth. The people who did it will become important later on in the story, at least relatively important, but what is important here is once they get to the mural, the whole thing's been painted over with the words, "You're only as good as your last performance," and an address, right? This is an invitation, because what it does is it leads to Matt Murdock and it leads to Sam basically, you know, getting a police escort, getting to that location in the Bronx. And when they get there, there's a whole bunch of Inhumans that are all dead. Now this takes place following Inhumanity. And for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with that, during the events of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, Black Bolt got absolutely dominated by Thanos, which makes perfect sense because Black Bolt sucks. But prior to that point, Black Bolt had detonated something called the Terrigen Bomb, and we ended up learning that secretly all across Earth were all these Inhumans that nobody knew about. And so these all started activating and so on and so forth. The fallout of that came post-Secret Wars, going into all new, all different Marvel, even continuing here, which is that all these Inhumans just kind of exist out there in different capacities. Some join the royal family out in Attilan, which nobody knows why you'd want to do that, and then some decide to stay out here. What's going on is that this guy, right, Muse, basically, has killed these Inhumans and in turn positioned them as almost kind of caricatures performing mundane tasks. And that's what's so crazy about it, is what we're going to find is this guy does this as a kind of work of art, because even this shows just kind of the mundane nature of life. People just doing things that people do because we're people and that's just what we do, right? And so that's one of the crazy things, is because Sam's never seen anything like this. So it totally blows his mind. And even Matt Murdock, right, seeing as best he can, is pretty blown away by all of it. But for those of you guys who are familiar with Daredevil, this guy's always paying attention to what goes on around him, right? It's second nature, just kind of him being on the streets for so long, so on and so forth. And so what he does is he picks up a heartbeat, and the heartbeat has a bit of a flutter, a nervous heartbeat. And he realizes, someone's watching. So he asked the question of one of the cops, right? He's like, are there any private spots around here? And this guy says, sure, the whole building's vacant. The owner just finished a big renovation. He was planning to start leasing the floors next month. Just pick a floor. And so Matt Murdock goes to the rooftop, and as he follows this heartbeat, right, it gets louder and louder the closer he gets. He finally comes face to face with Muse. The first question this guy asks, do you like my work? Now, what's crazy about this is that we get this kind of perception of Muse from Matt Murdock's viewpoint to a degree, in the sense that this guy kind of operates like a vortex, right? And what we're literally told, sense sounds, it's like he's drawing them into himself, like a black hole of sensory information. And what it does is just kind of disrupts the nature of Matt Murdock's powers, right? Because remember, echolocation, using his different senses to compensate for his blindness in order to kind of quote unquote see everything around him. And so this is right off the bat a weakness that Matt Murdock has. He can't directly see this guy. And so what you get is this conversation between the two of them where Matt Murdock asks the question, who are you, right? And that's the cool thing. This is why I love the character of Muse, right? He says, haven't you seen the papers? They're calling me Vincent Van Gogh. I don't like that though. It's low, undistinguished. I've been toying with the name Muse, but that could change. Reinvention is one of the keys to a long career, because what this guy does is just kind of fall rank and file with the nature of people who commit these kinds of crimes. It's one of the reasons why, like, whenever you see movies, and I don't know if it really happens in the real world, but they'll put out a kind of name for this person that they will take offense to. And it's an effort to draw them out or to get them to create more, reckless crimes and make it easier to find them. Of course, by doing that, you willingly more or less sacrifice people. But, at the end of the day, I guess that's just a price that cops are willing to pay. I don't really know. But this guy, he says, don't make me beg. Tell me if you liked my work. And that's when Matt Murdock begins to kind of put it all together. And he's like, the people you murdered, what kind of work is that supposed to be? And the thing that Muse responds with is he says, murder, that's a funny little word. Is it murder if the person wants to die? I don't think so. I think that's a gift. And it creates this really interesting moral philosophy. If a person wants to die, is it really considered murder of that person? Right? I mean, I guess according to the court systems, sure. But what about that person's agency, right? What about their desire to no longer live? Do they have no real ability to influence that? Or do we just kind of hand wave the ideology that, well, they're not rational, they're not sound, because no rational sound person would do that for no other reason than the fact that we as people have just kind of shoulder shrug decided that. And so it's one of those really interesting moral quandaries that sort of comes in with a character like him. But at the end of the day, he realizes, okay, Matt doesn't like it. He's like, then my next work will be better. And so when Matt asks, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you killing? He says, I am an artist, my friend. And as an artist, I hold to a strict code. Never explain and never apologize. For example, then he pops a grenade and Matt Murdock immediately bails. This guy just flees for his life. The whole thing goes off and Matt Murdock realizes there's no heat and no pressure. It was likely a flashbang. It's not a real thing. And so following that, he basically picks up with a phone call that comes from Sam. And the reason why is because the next day, Sam contacts him because basically this guy, Muse, has shown up in a courtroom, right? And he literally says, do you like my knife? I carved it myself. I believe you can find beauty inside just about anything. For instance, my knife was once inside a woman named Carolyn Stringer. Not a very attractive lady, it has to be said, but just look at her now. And so it's one of those things where he sees himself as improving them, right? It's like Red Dragon, right? Like Mrs. Leeds evolving. Do you see? Like, it's that kind of thing, right? So again, a very twisted and screwed up perspective, but he's not your normal run-of-the-mill villain, right? Which just makes him so cool, because one of the cops jumps up, points a gun at him and says, lose the knife. He's like, sure thing. And like throws the knife at the guy, hits him right in the throat. So it's just like, dang, dude, this guy is dope, right? Immediately he grabs the judge and bails. Sam jumps after him the whole time he's on the phone with Matt Murdock, right? And like literally Matt's just like, I heard a scream. What happened? And he's like, Muse, right? He killed a cop and then he ran. He took the judge. He was so fast, Daredevil. It all happened so fast. I didn't even have time to move. And where Daredevil asks the question, where is he now? Where is Muse? The response to Sam, I don't know, but I will. And so what you do is you get to the outside, and literally it's just like all these cops outside the courtroom, right? SWAT the whole 9 yards, right? Let the hostage go. We can talk about this, right? His response, oh no, I'm not much of a talker. It's something to notice here. This guy doesn't panic. This guy doesn't get overwhelmed. Now, that's kind of like a hallmark of just like being a psychopath or a sociopath. Sure, you feel emotions, but for the most part, in moments when like you're actually bringing harm to people, what you're doing doesn't really matter to you in reference to like how it affects the other person. It's irrelevant, right? So the fact that he's surrounded by cops and all these people have guns pointed at him, it's just kind of like, I mean, I'm not really much of a talker. You know, that's not really my thing. And he says, I prefer to let my work speak for me. And what he does is he pulls out a detonator because the guy had rigged the court to blow. The entire courthouse. He rigged the whole thing, right? Detonates it all goes off, right? One of the cops requesting backup, EMTs and bomb squad to Center Street, right? Daredevil's on his way out there as fast as he possibly can, beating feet. While all that happens, literally Muse just grabs the judge and bails in the sewers. And then in turn, Sam goes after him, all the while on the phone with Matt. And Matt says, do not go down there. If you do, I'll end up losing contact with you. Now for Matt Murdock, this is a big deal because Sam is untrained. This is a guy who has joined alongside Matt Murdock on his journey, but doesn't realize how hard and fast things can get and how dark and screwed up they can get. And so what you do is you switch over to things from Sam's perspective, right? And he's like, why did I say that? I'm not letting him kill anybody else. Who do I think I am? I just want to impress Daredevil. It sounded like something that he would say. And he says, do I really mean it? How far will I actually take this? So he's kind of figuring out his role of a superhero as he goes through all this stuff. And even then, like when Muse lays the judge down, he sits him around all the other people that he's kidnapped, and he simply says, time to create. And so we get this really cool explanation here as he's talking to all of them, right? He says, ultimately though, this will be my work. You should know that I consider you to be essential parts of the team. I couldn't realize my vision without each and every one of you. Do you think the symbolism here is too overt? A judge, a politician, and 2 cops. The entire legal system start to finish. More specifically, Councilwoman Pearson, Officer Scott and Menendez, and of course, Judge Laird, the 4 members of the legal system who conspired to shut down the public's access to my beautiful blood mural. These are the ones, specifically the councilwoman and the judge, who issued the order to shut down the public's access to his mural, right? He takes personal offense to it. And so of course, he rolls out his toolkit, right? His bag of goodies. And he says, so I thought,
Introducing the FilterSorb Whole House Water Conditioner, a complete home water filtration and conditioning system by Pure Again Water. Calcium and magnesium are healthy minerals found in your home's water supply. However, when these ions are heated, they can wreak havoc on your home, causing hard water and scale buildup in your pipes and appliances. In the past, traditional salt-based water softeners have been used to soften water.
Present the work down here with everything else that's...
How to get my lemon heads. Yeah, I left my hat over there.
It's gone down the toilet. Symbolism is tricky. It's a fine line. Too little and no one gets
Got a sweet tooth.
the point. Too much and it's just obvious. Art should never be obvious. So again, this is one of the coolest things about him, right? When you look at Daredevil villains, especially somebody like Bullseye, as awesome as Bullseye is, and as ridiculously underrated and underutilized as he is in Marvel Comics, he's still basically your run-of-the-mill villain. Outside of stories like Shadowland, right, where he just fought an army of ninjas by himself, which technically should just simply be impossible because the Hand are an almost indestructible ninja clan. Even looking at guys like Kingpin, who almost kind of seem larger than life, they're still basically run-of-the-mill, seeking power, seeking recognition, seeking fame. This guy is just kind of wanting to create art. He considers himself an artist and he wants the world to see the work that he's creating, but he's not really doing it with a clear message. It's not as though he's telling them, you guys represent corruption and I'm going to show society what corruption is. It's not really anything like that, right? For him, he's just performing what he considers to be art. And he says, that said, you guys are not the public. You're part of the work. So it's important that you understand the intent of all of this. I think it will help inform your stylistic choices as we move forward. And he says, oh, I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. This is a challenging piece, I have to tell you. And so what he does with his knife, he just grabs one of the cops and cuts their ear off. And he was like, yeah, sometimes that's just the only way to approach something like this. Sometimes you just need to start cutting. And that's when Sam shows up, literally saves these guys on the spot, right? And so what this guy, really what Muse realizes is this guy's the missing piece, right? Like the legal system's only one part of the equation, right? We have superheroes. So I need a vigilante, somebody that represents modern justice, right? And that's when he decides to go after Sam. Now for his part, as untrained as Sam is, and as in over his head as he is, he actually plays it pretty intelligently, right? Dodging, bobbing, and weaving, using his suit to make himself invisible, getting out of the way of Muse, hiding out, different things like that, right? Using the shadows to his advantage. The guy pulls it off incredibly well, because what he does is he literally leads Muse on a merry chase and then doubles back, goes back to the hostages and cuts them free. So it's like, this is really, really smart. I was impressed. I was like, dude, this guy, I love the way he's written here. Like, it's solid. And he even tells them, like, I'm going to get you guys out of here. The whole time, right? Like, Muse is just screaming at him, like, there's no way, Blind Spot, you're not going to allow it, right? You belong to me now, little man, and that sort of thing. And as they're making their way through the tunnels, because the judge and because, you know, the councilwoman never come down here, right? They're rarely even ever on the street level. And if they are, it's because they're traveling from one ivory palace to the next, right? So it's just things they observe but don't really see themselves as being a part of. They don't know how to get out of here. So fortunately for Blind Spot, he's able to kind of help them get out, because if he wasn't here and they were to somehow free themselves on their own, I mean, it'd be fish in a barrel, right? I mean, there'd be no way they'd make it out of here in one piece. And so by getting them all, like pointing them to safety and telling them where to go, he doubles back again and then allows Muse to kind of follow him around in order to offer himself as a distraction while the others get away. The problem with this is that partway through, his battery dies. And so he comes to the realization that if he stays down here, he could just kind of move through the sewers and maybe he'll survive, maybe he won't. But Daredevil will never find him. So he crawls up one of the ladders, opens a manhole, calls Daredevil, and leaves his phone sitting there. So Daredevil at least knows he was down in the sewers when he was last seen. At that point, Matt Murdock is incensed. One part because this guy Muse, of course, in his mind is a criminal and needs to be dealt with, but two, he's made it personal by going after someone that Matt Murdock cares about. The other part of this is guilt, that Matt Murdock bringing Sam on told him not to necessarily get involved, but maybe there was something more he could have done, right? That kind of situation. And that's when we really get this kind of clear recognition of the weakness that Daredevil has when it comes to Muse. The fact that this guy sucks in all the sensory information around him makes it impossible for Daredevil to locate him. But that's when Daredevil switches it on his head, right? He's like, okay, if this guy is a black hole of information, then stop looking for information and look for where there's no information. Look for where I can't see, right? A blind spot, a hole out there in the city somewhere. When he does that, he tracks this guy down. Now, what you do is you switch back to Muse while he has blind spot. And this is where things get brutal, because he drops him off. And I feel like we get just this perfect understanding of Muse, more so than we have before, right? He says, welcome to my Garrett blind spot. Every starving artist should have one. Now, technically, you shouldn't see any of this. It's a real look behind the curtain. There's this mystique about art, a shared fiction, if you will. An artist presents a piece to the world in its finished form and pretends that it simply appeared that way, effortlessly birthed from his genius. Both artist and audience prefer to believe that's the truth. It's nice to think that the really good creators have some direct connection to the divine. but it's a lie. It's a really, really cool point that he's making here, because he's kind of drawing this comparison between like artistry and magic. And depending on who you're talking to, some will say that it's one and the same.
Spectre Mobile's new deal is so good it's a work of art.
Love the minimalism.
Yeah. Right, you have an audience who's sitting there watching a person perform magic. They want to.
Now something I did want to talk about, because it's going to come up in a minute. That character Blind Spot, which is like a sidekick to Daredevil. In the show, I don't think we're gonna see him in the show. I only say that because we could, but so far, Daredevil does not know anybody named Blind Spot. They haven't introduced him yet. You know. I mean, yeah, you can introduce him saying that, you know, they've been doing things together as of now, but I don't think he's going to be in the show. So then you won't, and I say that because Muse, you have Muse, you know, and what Muse does to him, it's crazy.
To be tricked. They want to believe that there's something greater going on here than a person hiding a card up their sleeve, that there's just something they don't know, some kind of supernatural element there. They know there's not, but they want to believe there is. And so he says, in reality, it's hours and hours of missteps, frustration, and bad ideas that get sliced away to reveal some kind of truth. It's never easy. In fact, it's agony. And removing this guy's blindfold inside this warehouse is just absolute madness. Human brains, body parts, the whole 9 yards. It's one of just the darkest things that I think I've ever seen. And he says, so what do you think? Of course, Sam responds, you don't have to do this. And this is where we get this awesome explanation, right? He says, wow, man, don't you think I told myself that? And he says, after that first one, it was a woman, just someone I picked up. I made her into something abstract, told myself I shouldn't, that it was wrong, but it didn't feel wrong. The truth is, kid, when I'm making, I'm strong. I am right. But people don't really understand what I do. They object to my preferred medium, if you get my meaning. I only have so much time to work before someone manages to stop me. I need to use every moment. So yes, Blind Spot, I have to do this. If I don't, who will? So it's almost kind of like this Joker type concept with his character, right? And he's like, what's caught your eye down there? Do you see something that you like? And he says, oh yeah, 10 Fingers. I liked him, thought he had potential, and he did, as you can see, right? So it's just kind of using people and not really even seeing them as people. He doesn't see anybody out here as people. He sees them as the eventuality of his art pieces and really nothing more. Because he literally says that, right? He became art just like the people who contributed their blood to my singularity piece. And so in the midst of this whole conversation, right, he tells Sam, like, the question to ask is, what am I going to make out of you? And that's when Daredevil pops up. And Daredevil is forced to watch as Muse says, okay, sure.
Oh, this is where things get crazy. Check out what happens to Blind Spot.
Sure, whatever. And then he says, you know, I think I just figured it out. Suddenly, I'm feeling inspired. And when he says that, he plunges his fingers into the eyes of Sam and blinds him, right? And Daredevil's just like, no, right? He's like forced to watch this. And the response of Muse, you see it, don't you? Blind Spot, right? It's beautiful, and throws him off a ledge, right? Throws Sam off a ledge. This guy's just the most callous, sadistic psychopath that I think has ever been introduced in a Daredevil comic, but it's written so well that it almost kind of makes you want to cheer for the bad guy, even though you know you're not supposed to. And so what Sam does is he tells Daredevil, something that Muse said, he still has the people here, the ones he took for the blood mural, I think they're still alive. And he's like, don't let anyone else die. So Matt Murdock chases this guy down. And when he gets to him, what he realizes is that the mural that was painted in the beginning, yes, it was the blood of 113 people, but they're not all dead. They're being drained for their blood. They've just been snatched up by Muse at some point, just missing persons. And they're all just hanging upside down, dripping into a bucket. It is crazy, right? And so you have Muse, again, just very cavalier, very just devil may care. And he says, why do you care about these people? Don't you realize they're better off? Their lives mean something now. It doesn't matter if they die here, they're immortal. And then he's like, you know what? You just wouldn't understand. And then he just cuts the rope, right? And all these people are getting ready to plunge to their deaths. And so Matt Murdock is able to basically lock down this device and keep all these people from falling. But his concern is he's going to lose Muse in the process. The funny thing about this is once Muse gets to the rooftop, all these cops are waiting on him. And so Matt Murdock approaches him and Muse kind of beats him to the punch, right? He's like, yo, here, I think I can help. And he breaks his own fingers, right? He's like, this is what you were looking to do, right? Something like this, make it impossible for me to create art ever again. And he's like, don't worry, I'm happy to do it. It's better for the story, right? Because these art pieces that I've made, I can never duplicate. I can never do it again. Now they're one of a kind, right? My story is singular, self-contained, never to be duplicated in any way. And so Matt Murdock asks him, he says, what are you? And he pulls his mask off, only for us to end up seeing this extremely twisted and pretty disfigured face. And he's like, I'm just a man in a mask. Nothing more than that. And that's what's so cool, is because you almost kind of get this idea that like there's almost something supernatural about this guy, something beyond normally human. But the reality is we don't know his name and there is nothing special about him. He's just a man in a mask. And that's basically it. So of course, Sam is effectively carted off and that sort of thing and taken to the hospital where he's left to recover. And of course, Daredevil tells him that he saved all the people who were basically injured, that kind of thing. And so the response to Sam is like, well, you know, it was worth it losing my eyesight. But the reality here is this guy is seemingly down for the count. But that's the story of Muse, guys. Let me know what you think about him down in the comments section. And
tearing up these lemon heads. I love them. Oof. But there you have it, guys. Once again, this is what's gonna be shown in the new Daredevil show. The Born Again story, and then we have the Muse that's gonna be in that Born Again story. So yes. Alright, so on that one, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Remember, guys, soon I am gonna be announcing for the Twitch to be doing a separate video on that. One last time, this is the Heroes and Villains Collectibles Twitch, so that we guys can go ahead and make sure to follow us on that, so that when we watch have the Marvel Marathon, you guys are a part of it. We watch the Daredevil and we watch all the shows. Alright? So, that's pretty cool. So, alright guys, on that one, we're going to go ahead and end it here. Once again, if you guys like what you're seeing, smash that like. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be on earlier, so I can go ahead and do the Lego chat. So we will be finishing up the Lego build for the Leonardo's shell, the sword and all that stuff. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. Alright guys, on that one, this was dope, this was awesome. This has been another episode of Heroes and Villains Collectibles Story Time. And yo, those trailers was bugged out. Once again, I'm gonna be jumping on that, checking out those movies when it comes to that Winnie the Pooh verse. So make sure you guys check those out as well. On that one, this has been another episode of Heroes and Villains Collectibles. I'm your boy, LC. Until next time, guys.